All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2, some potential launch games that could be dropping on the console when it does come out. We are just over a month away from the official showcase for the Nintendo Switch 2, where we will get a lot more information, release dates, games I'm assuming that are going to be launching with it on day one, and just a rundown of the features for the games itself and the use of the Joy-Cons, which to me is the most intriguing thing, especially because of the mouse feature that we have seen. The sliding across on your table to be able to use it like a mouse was, I think, would be game-changing for first-person shooter games on the Nintendo Switch 2, and then obviously whatever specific games that Nintendo was going to utilize that Joy-Con feature for. But we're just over a month away. I'm very excited. I haven't been this excited for a launch of a console probably since the Nintendo Switch launch, because the Nintendo Switch was incredible when they first showed it off. I thought that original announcement for the first Nintendo Switch was so good, as they showed it being so versatile in the way that you can use it. They showed different age ranges, different demographics of people using the Switch itself, so it kind of moved away from it just being for kids or just for old grandmas using the Nintendo Wii to bowl. They showed everybody using it, and I thought that was great, and I think they'll do something similar here with the Nintendo Switch 2. But the biggest thing that will sell this console on day one for the most amount of people, well, there's probably going to be two big things. First one will be the price. The second thing, though, will be the games that launch with the Nintendo Switch 2. And I have some opinion here as to what I think the games will be. We'll start off with just going over some of first-party Nintendo games. So one game that I definitely think will be there at the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 will be Metroid Prime 4. I think that's going to be one of the biggest announcements for this console, as we've been waiting so long for Metroid Prime 4. All of the issues with its development, it being rebooted, it being tossed around to different studios, and then we finally got that first trailer of Metroid Prime 4, which looked phenomenal. And people are going to be very excited to see this on an upgraded console, better frame rates, better resolutions than on the current Nintendo Switch, and it will be a game that I think everybody picks up on day one. I think it will also launch on the current Nintendo Switch, but it will be the lesser experience comparatively to what we're going to be getting with the Nintendo Switch 2. The next game, this is an obvious one because they already showed it off at that first little teaser trailer of the Switch 2, Mario Kart 9. Now, Mario Kart 9 to me is going to be very interesting because my opinion is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best Mario Kart ever created, the best kart racer ever created. It is a 10 out of 10 for me as a video game. I'm trying to think of ways that they can improve it, and it's always hard for me to determine how can they improve Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It is just so good. They've added content to it. So I don't even know how much better Mario Kart 9 will be, other than maybe a couple of additional features, some gimmicky stuff, or some extra cool tracks, but it will be slightly better. That would be a day one purchase for me. It's just crazy to think that they're going to be able to improve upon the last Mario Kart game. Again, like I said, is to me an absolutely perfect game. But the other thing I think that they could do with Mario Kart 9 is if the Switch 2 has upgraded online features, chat within the console, all of these types of things, maybe that's where Mario Kart 9 will shine, just for that overall online component. But to be fair, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still has a decent online component, so I'm excited for it. I will be picking that up day one, but they've already shown that one to us, so you can pretty much bet that will be there. The next one I think will be Super Mario Odyssey 2. This one is a no-brainer. Super Mario Odyssey 1 has been out for a long time now. It is time for that sequel, and this will be a huge win for fans of the series and just for 3D Mario games. This Super Mario Odyssey is one of the best 3D Mario games ever created, and you sit back and you think about how many good games came out on the current Nintendo Switch, and they're just going to be able to add to that and add sequels to these games that we just have been waiting a long time for. So we'll definitely see that one at launch, and if it's not on day one, it will be in the near future, and you would just assume it is going to be Odyssey 2 and not a new one into the series, or brand new atmosphere, a brand new location. It'll be just a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey, because that one was extremely popular. I think we'll also see Pokemon ZA Legends. That one, we should see more about that leading up before the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. I'd assume that that's going to be a current Nintendo Switch launch game. I mean, if you take a look at the most recent Pokemon games that have released on the Nintendo Switch, they are not technical marvels by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, that was one of the biggest issues with the latest Pokemon game, which is how badly it ran on the current Nintendo Switch. But it also proved that people just don't care. They love their Pokemon. They don't really care too much about how the game runs. As long as they can play through a new Pokemon game and do all the things you do in it, they're happy. And now we're going to finally see an upgrade to those games with more powerful hardware that will bring them just a better experience for everybody. And when we look at the Switch 2, in terms of the more powerful hardware, I don't think it's going to be a huge jump, but there will be software technology in there, like potentially NVIDIA DLSS, that will make these games just run smoother. Because that was a big issue for me when I was trying to play the latest Pokemon game. It was janky. It took away from the experience. You were starting to notice the age of the Switch. I usually don't care too much about that stuff. I don't zoom in on pixels. I don't count frames. As long as the games are fun, I'm good. But you kind of noticed the aging system of the current Nintendo Switch, and that will be gone here, I think, with the next Pokemon game as it does launch on to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, this next one I think will be kind of a dual pack, a dual release thing that they do, because most people who have a Switch probably own these games already, so it's just as simple as plugging it in and then potentially paying for an upgrade, or maybe they'll sell them as completely different games at full price. I hope they don't do that, but Nintendo is kind of notorious for doing stuff like that, so I wouldn't be surprised. But that's going to be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Enhanced. Now, I played both of those games completely, obviously, on the current Nintendo Switch, and I didn't really care too much about the performance of it. It didn't affect my experience. A lot of people complained about it. I was fine. I had a fun time playing through those games, both on handheld and on plugged into my dock onto the TV. They were incredible games. Some of my favorite games of all time are both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but I think they're going to announce like a enhanced version, upscale to 4K, 60 frames per second release of these, and people are going to have a lot of fun playing those, because you saw stuff online where people were complaining about it and then going and doing things to upgrade these in ways that you technically should not be doing, and Nintendo would be against that, and Nintendo notices this stuff, so they're going to capitalize on that by releasing, I think, a upgraded, enhanced version of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Now, that's all of the first party stuff. I think that will be a strong first party light up from Nintendo, but on top of that, there will be a ton of third parties. I think the Switch 2 is going to blow people away with just how much third party support from games that are currently out or coming out on the Xbox Series X, S, and PlayStation 5. How much support there will be there from third party developers, because the Switch 2 will be able to handle those games, even if it has that lesser quality. But you're going to have big games dropping on it right away. Like, I think that you're going to have a lot of support from Xbox specifically. Like, we may get Halo the Master Chief Collection day one on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think Doom the Dark Ages, which is coming out in May, is going to have a Nintendo Switch 2 port for day one release of the console. We've seen the other Doom games on there, so that would just make a ton of sense. I think potentially we'll see Final Fantasy port their game over to the Nintendo Switch 2. Final Fantasy VII Remake or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Square Enix has explicitly come out and said they are done with exclusivity to consoles. They need to put their games on more platforms. As we know, those games were locked to PlayStation. They're done with that. They weren't making enough money. So a no-brainer for launching on another console would be launching it on the Nintendo Switch 2 and taking advantage of just how big of a consumer base that would be. We potentially will see some day one releases of games that are coming out also on other platforms, like the new Metal Gear remake. Maybe that's going to be coming out onto the Nintendo Switch 2, either day one or within the launch period of the Nintendo Switch 2. So that would be very, very cool. And I think we'll also see stuff from Ubisoft, like Assassin's Creed Shadows. I believe, because this game comes out in March, I believe that they're currently working on a port for Assassin's Creed Shadows for the Switch 2, and that will be a day one launch. Ubisoft is notorious for launching their games day one with consoles. I can't remember a console recently that I've bought and that I didn't pick up an Assassin's Creed game with it. With the Series X and PS5, it was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So I think with the Switch 2, it will be Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I'm looking forward to that game. I'm going to end up playing that before the Switch release, and if I love it as much as I think I will, I may pick it up as well on the Switch 2 just to have that portability with it. So those are some of my predictions for games that will be launching with the Nintendo Switch 2 on day one, or at least within the launch window of the console itself, depending on what the release date of the game is. So I think this launch for the Switch 2 games wise is going to be one of the greatest that we have ever seen, simply because there's already so many great games that are in development that will be launching on the Switch 2 from third parties, but also we know Nintendo is cooking their first party lineup here. And if you're launching a new Mario game, a new Mario Kart, a Metroid, and a Pokemon game, that is just absolutely insane for a launch lineup. And then enhanced versions of Zelda will just put it over the top. So I'll end the video there. I would love to know your comments and your thoughts on what you think the launch games were. Let me know in the comments below. List off a few, and we'll see at the end when this thing does launch who was right and who was wrong. But it should be very exciting, as I will be covering more about the Switch 2. I'm going to be trying to pick this thing up day one, depending on how hard it is to get. I mean, we know launches these days, you have to be online right away and click the link so bots don't get them. Hopefully that isn't the case. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.